We have Dr. Geraldine Tan from the therapy room with us. Good morning, Jerry.
Morning, and I am with all of you today.
Yay!
Okay,
Almost didn't make it.
we've got everything sorted now. You sound perfect.
You sound great, Jerry. Okay, so Jerry, today we're talking about bad thoughts in COVID. And
Yep.
you've got some very interesting pointers today, I thought.
Yep, a lot of lists.
Yeah.
The whole list there.
Yeah.
I mean, what you have on that, we'll come to that. But I thought I wanted to start with words.
Okay.
Because, on radio, it's all about words. They cannot see you except on Facebook, right?
Right.
And before Facebook, there was just your voices. So your voices and your words mean a lot. So if we stop a while and think about the words and see what impacts us. So I think when I switched on the radio just now, I heard something about Speedo.
No.
Yes, you did. I'm going to be
Wrong
honest.
station, wrong
Yes,
station.
yes. And that was all Andre and Shaun.
What?
See what I mean? This is exactly what I mean. It's wasting time. No? Just admit it. So, yes,
Okay.
FD in his Speedos and me in my Speedos.
Which is a bad thought, Jerry. So,
No, I switched it on at that precise moment that Glenn was being naughty again.
Glenn's always naughty.
Just admit it.
What did I say?
Just
I
admit it.
don't know. I have no idea, but you must have said something that then all the other boys were saying that, Glenn, you're having an impure thought or something like that.
Yes. So I'll be the bearer of the truth, okay?
Okay.
So Glenn was actually talking about his primary school teacher in a mini Cheongsam, and he said that's one of his main lessons. But when it came to bad thoughts, I was asking our fans which is a more impure thought, Glenn in Speedos or FD in Speedos.
That is so bad, Andre. That is so bad. Okay, let me just tell you how the whole impure thought came about. When they brought up the fact that we were going to be talking about bad thoughts today, I asked this question: bad thoughts, does it equate to impure thoughts as well? I asked that question, and then we started talking about the whole, why I brought up impure thoughts and all that, and I said, okay, impure thoughts, equates to sex. That's the way I was taught when I was growing up. I was told, you shouldn't be thinking about sex because that would be an impure thought. So then, we started talking about that earlier on, debating whether bad thoughts and impure thoughts are the same. So let's just put that aside.
Okay.
According to my boys over here, they said don't bring up impure thoughts. It's just bad thoughts that we're talking about today.
Yes.
Right?
Correct.
Okay, that is the full story. Andre, who did?
So Jerry, you're talking about words. How do words get involved here?
So when Glenn tried to defend himself, he said a lot of words that stuck in our head.
See what I mean?
So that's planting seeds, right?
Yeah.
So thoughts it can come in the form of words, most of the time in words, or visuals.
Okay.
And what you just helped us to do is to create visuals with words. And I cannot erase that idea of FD and Glenn in Speedos. Oh my God.
And that's why it needs to be our next publicity shot. People will remember it forever.
Oh, I know. So, the power of the mind is so fantastic. The minute you say something, the brain creates fantasy. So that's one of my points of jumping to conclusions. Because we create that whole fantasy in our heads, and then we start to imagine it. And can you imagine how our brains start to create its own reality? So you actually do not need to wear the Speedos, but you can have a publicity stunt where imagine Glenn and Ashley wearing Speedos.
Yeah, actually, yeah. I mean, I'm all for that. I'm thinking, right, both of us in Speedos, we have the publicity shot, and then we have the video. of both of us standing there in our Speedos, and I take my Speedo off.
Oh no!
Oh, come on, you're giving her pictures.
Wait, hold on. But
Wait,
when I
listen,
take my
listen, yeah,
but
listen.
when I take my Speedo off, there's another Speedo in under there. You know what I mean?
Wow.
I do.
Then
I
you'll be
do.
like the human kueh lapis.
Exactly. One Speedo after another, and then I take it off again. I take it off again. Right.
It's like that Chinese
And
performer,
there's
you know, with the
always
mask.
there's always another Speedo underneath.
That is
Right? How
hilarious.
cool is that?
That's awesome. That's a
But Jerry was thinking about something else. No?
Yes, she
when I
was.
said when I take off my Speedo.
Yeah, and who is the one who said, let's not interrupt Jerry and let her talk?
Okay, that's true actually. Sorry about that, Jerry.
Wait,
take a
Go
break
on.
anyway.
wait. But Glenn said something else. He kept saying the word impure thoughts just now.
Yes.
So he planted the seed in my head already.
Mm.
You see, I can't bluff a psychologist. She knows my game. Yeah.
So that's one of that, jumping to conclusions and creating that fantasy and creating that whole visualization. And I thought it was very interesting because I was watching Inception over the weekend.
Okay.
Did you all watch that show?
Yes.
yes.
Wait, hold on.
A Dream? Okay.
Inception was out like 5 years ago, right?
Recently on
Ayo.
Netflix.
Huh?
Yes,
Recently
it's on
out on
Netflix.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
it's out on Netflix now. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Shaun, for saving me.
No problem.
See? Glenn, don't bully. Ayo.
See?
Okay, sorry. Go on, Jerry. Okay, wait, hold on. We can continue this discussion live on Facebook. All right. It is 8:18.
1FM Time Check by Budget Direct Insurance. Award-winning custom.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So, Jerry, you're talking about watching Inception over the weekend.
Yep.
Okay.
So a dream within a dream within a dream, and the whole concept of, planting that idea and making it seem like it is yours. So when I said, "Oh no," to taking off the Speedos, Glenn said, Jerry was thinking about something else, but he planted another thought in my head right at the beginning.
Glenn.
Planting thoughts.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was very exciting how words and that whole visualization can create an alternate reality for us, which creates it becomes quite troublesome for some of the people, So if I take another one, right? The overgeneralizing. So the overgeneralizing by itself is actually good. So the little ones, when they learn languages, water, this very basic water or milk, suddenly every liquid become water or milk. And it's nutritious, it is, safe to drink. Or they learn another word and they use it for everything. That's part of the learning process. But when someone uses it in a very destructive way, let me think of an example. Many years ago, this guy, he witnessed his friend having an accident at a junction. Okay, and after that, he couldn't go to that junction, so he makes a detour. But the anxiety becomes too much because that visual and the word accident is very synonymous with junction and road. So he then generalized to big roads. So he couldn't go near big roads. That's fine. He started to go through the smaller roads. But because he still continues to generalize, so it starts permeating all the different roads, right? Even the small roads become dangerous. So he can't cross it. Eventually, he was stuck at home.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a true story, okay? So this was what one of the psychiatrists was telling us when we were a long time back. And he had to go to the psychiatrist and get his medication. So the generalizing can be quite crippling for some people.
Okay. So, Jerry, I mean, today we're talking about like bad thoughts and all that during this COVID-19 period because, many people have sought help because, they can't cope. They're having scary thoughts about the future and so on and so forth, right?
Yep.
So could you give us some examples of, people who are suffering mentally during this COVID-19 period and how perhaps maybe they can counter these bad thoughts?
Yep. So just taking the overgeneralizing, if you've kept yourself healthy, you have your mask on, it doesn't mean that...
okay, hold on, Jerry. Hold on,
Okay.
we're going to go back on air.
And then he can ask that question
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
1FM 91.3 traffic.
You've got the usual delays across the expressways. That shouldn't surprise you too much today. But what else do you have facing you? Well, you're going to have one or two areas that are kind of special. That's normally about what happens round about this time of the morning. So, usual delays across the expressways. The AYE towards Tuas, an obstacle on the road after Lower Delta Road exit. Avoid lane 1. BKE towards Woodlands, vehicle broken down after the PIE entrance. And on Marymount Road towards Bishan Street 22, roadworks there, avoid the left lane. Stay within the speed limit, have everyone buckled up, be safe as you drive today.
Good morning, Singapore. It's Glenn and the Flying Dutchman. And joining us this morning, of course, is Dr. Geraldine Tan from the therapy room. And today, if you're tuning in and you're one of those people who hasn't been feeling good during this COVID-19 period, because from what we gather, more and more people are not, coping very well during this period. They're having very negative thoughts, and some people don't know what to do about it. So we're asking Jerry this morning, for people who are going through, these bad thoughts, how could you give us examples of what mental state some of these people are in and how they can perhaps counter it?
So earlier we were talking about the overgeneralizing, which caused a lot of anxiety. So one of those people, so this morning we heard the news that some of the places that the COVID patients had visited recently are like Shake Shack, Four Fingers, and now people are they might start feeling worried and go, oh no, I love Four Fingers. I'm not going to go to a particular Four Fingers because one of the patients has visited that particular restaurant. But some people take it further. All Four Fingers restaurants cannot be patronized. And then others will start thinking, if some of the patients will go to Four Fingers, they might go to KFC. So now I can't go Four Fingers and KFC. So it starts expanding.
So they're getting paranoid.
They are getting a little bit paranoid. So they start imprisoning themselves, or there's more spaces that are poisonous, and they start avoiding those places. So let's just bring it down to what the news actually is. It's just one outlet. It's not every outlet. It's not every fast food joint.
Okay.
But Jerry, I've got to say that during this COVID thing, right, every time something like that has come up, I will admit, I avoid those outlets.
Okay.
I absolutely, well, I don't avoid all, but if it's, let's say, in a particular mall where someone is visited, I'm not in that mall for at least 2 weeks.
Okay.
Because that's how I'm handling it. I've got to admit that's what I'm doing.
That's okay, but I don't think you're paranoid as a result of that.
Not really paranoid, but I think I tend to understand how some of these people feel. Because yes, the guy visited it. Yes, maybe you've cleaned this outlet or whatever, but how clean is clean? Am I gonna risk it?
Okay, you need to have FD on your couch, Jerry.
Well, but he has deadline for himself, you see.
2
After
weeks.
2 weeks, he goes back.
Yeah.
So it doesn't paralyze him. It doesn't cripple him. Yeah.
You know, when I check in, right? You know, safety check-ins
Yes,
and all
yes.
that, right? I like using my SingPass for checking in because they leave you messages after that. Like, for example, right now, if I open my safe entry check-in, I have a message there that says you're okay based on all your safe entry records for the last 14 days.
yeah.
You're okay.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's good to use the SingPass mobile safe entry
Yeah.
check-in
Yeah.
because I mean they monitor it very, very closely.
They do.
Based on, for example, some of these places we hear about that have been visited by COVID-19 patients. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So very reassuring. That's true.
What other cognitive distortions could there be in this current COVID situation?
I love this one. Labeling. Labeling has always been an issue for me. Yeah. So, sometimes people forget their mask. And in truth, there was once I took a cab and I totally forgot my mask all the way to the center. I was so glad the taxi uncle did not say anything because I realized it on my own later on. But there are some that are like justice warriors, and they start labeling these people and say those idiots, or you're dumb, or you have no brain, or something like that. And when the labels hit the person, sometimes we do not know how it impacts the person.
Yep.
So one is from the external in, and the other labeling can be the person themselves. I tell myself I'm dumb, I'm not good enough. During the COVID period, I've heard many of the people saying that, oh, my body is very weak, so I cannot go out. Yeah, so I might catch it. So what happened was for 6-7 months, they have been staying at home. They don't even go out to buy groceries or anything like that. So even if they do go out, what they do is they drive out and they stay in the car. Somebody else grabs the grocery and comes in.
Wow.
So it is very imprisoning, yeah.
Right. Well, I mean that's quite typically Singaporean actually. Kiasi, right? Either you're kiasu or you're kiasi, right? So there are a lot of people who are kiasi.
Well, I mean, in little doses it's okay, but then, when it affects your life and you're so restricted, that becomes a problem for some people. If we expand it a little bit more, that's where the eating disorder patients come in, because they might be labeled as fat. They might be labeled by their friends, their teachers, as, fat and lazy.
Right.
And it becomes a problem later on. So it manifests years later and not in the current.
All right. We're talking to Dr. Geraldine Tan from the therapy room this morning, being Therapy Tuesday. It is 8:30.
I think they're great. I love to listen to them in the morning.
Glenn and the Flying Dutchman.
So Jerry, I was looking at your list of things, and there's one that I'm trying to wrap my head around that I'm finding difficulty with: shoulding and musting.
Oh, those are the
Shoulding and
absolutes.
musting.
Yeah, those are the absolutes. You should, you must. So these are very extreme words. So if you tell someone you should be doing this, or you tell yourself I should be doing this, you don't give yourself the flexibility to maneuver, Okay, for example, during the COVID period, we were encouraged to bring our own Tupperware,
Yes.
right? And some people take it a little bit more extreme and would scold another person, you should bring your own Tupperware, or you should bring your own containers. Oh, yeah. And, it is a choice for different people, but yet they make it as if it is a rule. It is not a rule.
Okay, get it.
Do you have any questions for Jerry, Andre?
Or from
Yeah, I
our
know.
fans?
Yeah, from the fans. Do we have? If not, I've got another question for Jerry.
Oh no, I mean the last one I have here is someone asking us to check out the book, The Power of the Unconscious Mind. So it's a very good read.
Yeah.
Just wondering if any of you guys have read it.
No,
No, I haven't.
but it definitely sounds familiar. Oh, am I thinking? Years ago I read this book, right, called The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale, and I'll never forget it. I was like really young, I don't know why I picked up that book. I was like, I think I was in primary school when I picked up that book.
Good grief.
Like, what the hell, right? I mean, which primary school student, thinks about
yeah.
positive thinking?
Yeah.
But anyway, speaking of positive thinking, so we've been talking a lot about how some people are not in control of their thoughts and all that. So, how can we take back that control and not let our thoughts control us? Because I think many people are plagued by that sometimes.
I think it's important too because
like you leave the house and then after that you think to yourself, did I switch the light off, or did I leave the gas on? And after you rush back, thoughts like that. Do you come across people who are like that? Are they considered obsessive compulsive? No.
No, I think we did talk about obsessive compulsive before, but these are slightly different. Although the list I've given you is actually part of the cognitive behavioral therapy. So working on the different types of thoughts. So the OCD patient might have a certain type of thought, and then we can work with them. Yeah.
Right. Because I mean, we're practically saying, yeah, okay, fine. After all we've spoken about today, now we all have to take control of our thoughts and not let our thoughts take control of us. But
Correct.
I mean, it's easier said than done, right?
the question is, how do you do that?
So then I would put this earlier. So I deliberately put the thoughts as bad thoughts, right?
Okay.
So the opposite of bad is good.
Good.
But let me ask you, what is the opposite of distortion?
The opposite of distortion.
Clear.
Defined.
Clear, defined, accurate.
Accurate.
Okay.
So it's not about being good. It's being clear, it's being precise, it's being accurate. And it does not mean that it's the visual that we see or the words that we see may be good. And people fear that. So sometimes they create a reality for themselves that is too perfect.
Right.
Or they create, something for themselves to prevent something else from happening.
Right.
So that's why they park the thought of, the should, the must, or they create something even darker to prevent something worse to happen.
Okay, hold on.
Let's take a look at that traffic. Delays across the expressways, the AYE towards the MCE. We have an accident that's at Jurong Town Hall entrance. That's going to slow you down a wee bit this morning. Other than that, I don't see too many areas that will cause you too many problems. Just stay within the speed limit. Make sure you've got everyone buckled up. Be safe as you drive today.
1FM 91.3, it's Glenn and the Flying Dutchman, and we have Dr. Geraldine Tan from the therapy room with us this morning, and we're talking about people who are having bad thoughts, especially during this COVID-19 period right now. And I'm about to ask you, Jerry, sometimes when we have bad thoughts, right, and we want to counter these bad thoughts, is it advisable for us to slap ourselves? Like, stop thinking that way. Sometimes I do that.
No, as a cue. I mean, I think everybody's done that at some point in their lives where you just literally just tapped your face and go, stop
come
being
on,
like that.
snap out of it.
Yeah.
Fool.
Yeah.
I'm hard on myself sometimes.
Please do not slap yourself in public. You will look really odd.
That's true.
But we bring you back to the present. So, yeah, where it's distorted means it's not real. We bring you back to reality. So, the whole mindful walking, sometimes if the anxiety is too much, it's really looking at the person. If you're walking, the person in front of you, the colors, the heat. So, all the keeping the mindfulness and bringing you back to the present.
Yeah.
For some of the patients, they use a rubber band, and that's what they do. Instead of slapping, they actually go pop.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right, that's what it is. I've seen that. That.
It's to bring them back to the present and to stop the thought. So one of the methods is thought stopping.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know. Yes, Andre?
I've got one question from one of our fans. Joel's asking, are people who are crippled by bad news about the pandemic caused by COVID-19, or are they just mentally vulnerable? Or is there something else we're looking at?
That's a tough one. I mean, we all approach situations differently. So maybe you have past experiences on certain aspects and it affects you differently. So it doesn't mean that you are vulnerable in the way that you think the person is soft or weak, but they might have experiences that cause them to react or overreact in a certain situation.
Okay, wow, everyone is so quiet.
Well, it's very, it's just very interesting, Jerry, the way you're dealing with this, because the expression comes to mind: you are what you think. So people, it is important that people can control their thoughts and not be controlled by their thoughts. And for me, that becomes worrying, because I know there are times in my life when I'm controlled by my thoughts.
So Connie is asking, so how can we help someone to overcome bad or negative thoughts?
Yeah, that's what we've been talking about.
Yeah.
You know, so for some people, like early on, I was saying like, okay, slap yourself, and then Jerry was like, some people use the rubber band
Get out of
to
it.
snap out of it.
Yeah,
Right?
Yep. So the external people, the people around the person, they are very important. So a lot of anchoring can occur. So you tell them the reality, you tell them the truth, you encourage them. So that's what the people around them can help them to do. Because sometimes they lose sight of the reality. I mean, the person themselves, besides stopping the thought, the other thing that they can do is just do it.
Right.
Then, like the Nike advertisement, just do it. So if you're telling yourself, I want to do something, but I'm fearful of doing it, just do it.
Right. And I think that's it, that's the root of the problem, the fear. And for this COVID-19 situation, it's not just the fear of contracting COVID-19, it's the fear of dying because of what's in the news. You know what I mean? Some people are affected more than others. People of a certain age, are more at risk, And so I think that is the reason why, people start having really bad thoughts and negative thoughts. It's because of that fear. That fear that, look, if I contract COVID-19 and I get over it like it's the common flu, that's fine. But what if I start having respiratory problems and I can't breathe? And the thought of that plays on their minds, it's scary.
Well, I'm 64 years old, and I've got to tell you that is exactly how I look at COVID. I do not look at it as something that I will get and I will be over within a day or two. I look at it as getting it and I'm going to be in an ICU.
Right.
And it does scare the hell out of me. It scares the hell out of me.
So that's catastrophizing. But when you catastrophize, FD, what helped you to then come into the studio? Because I noticed you're back in the studio. If you catastrophize too much, you might not be able to come back to the studio, but you're back.
Okay, I'm back because I needed my boys.
And we miss you.
And now I feel bad, because I don't know whether, it was fair for us to give him that option. Because we knew that FD was getting tired from working from home. And we said, look, FD, if you're really feeling that way, then do something about it.
Yeah.
Then speak to the boss.
Yeah.
Because the boss was not about to ask him to come back. All right? So speak to the boss and tell the boss you want to come back. So it's your choice to come back. But we only said that because we felt that he was kind of losing it.
Yeah, because I was getting real grumpy sitting at home looking at that camera.
So grumpy. Every time we look at him, on Facebook, and we're like, okay, this guy needs to get out.
Yeah.
And come back to the studio.
The truth is, all of us received about 400 SMSs from his wife telling, please get rid of this guy. Please take him back. I've had enough.
We weren't supposed to say it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, last question from Luvin. Say, good morning, Doc. If I'm clinically depressed and bipolar, when I'm having one of my episodes, people keep telling me to think positive thoughts. But it's so difficult. Do you have any tips for me?
It's not about being positive. Remember earlier I said it's for cognitive distortion, the opposite of distortion is just being real, being accurate. So the here and now is what this person needs to look at. Even though it might not be pretty, but the here and now is something that they can anchor on so they don't go into fantasy.
I see. I think I feel for this person because I know of a few people who are bipolar. And maybe we should explore that a little bit more. Maybe in the weeks to come, we can address, some of our fans who are bipolar.
Because I've got to admit, I know very little and understand very little.
Because when I hear bipolar, I think of anger.
Yeah, me too.
Someone who's bipolar, gets angry. A lot quicker.
Yeah.
Right? Is that true? What would your definition be of bipolar?
The bipolar is literally bipolar, right? You swing on a high and then you drop to a low. So that's a very simplistic way of putting it. So there are many interesting manifestations of it. I mean, the more interesting ones that I can share is when they are on a high, you see those people buying a lot. So there were some cases that they actually bought condo, they went to buy the Ferrari.
Oh, I see.
Sign on it. Yeah, and then the family members have to go to the salesperson and say, I'm so sorry, this person has a condition. Can we retract?
I see. So it's...
Yeah.
Okay. So and when that person's mood, comes down, then it's almost depression. So it
is depression. Yeah.
Oh, it is depression. Yeah, because when you were saying highs and lows, I was comparing it to certain thyroid conditions which give you the same effects.
So the irritability, the very hyper sort of personality, but that one is slightly different. Bipolar is emotional issue.
I see. Okay.
We should talk about
we should definitely talk about it in the weeks to come.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've run out of time. Thank you very much, Jerry, for joining us today.
I'm very glad to be here, and I'm glad the technical issues are sorted out.
No worries, Jerry. I'm sure. Next week you're gonna be, because today is this is not what is the norm, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So hopefully you'll be able to fix all the other problems by next week.
I hope so.
Yep. Jerry, you take care and stay safe. We'll talk to you next week, okay?
Yes, see all of you next week.
All right.
Be good. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.